What's up, deckheads? Welcome back to NTG with me. It's the Gainswalker. We've got a tier list for you today. This is of Duskmourn. There's some cool strategies in this one. Not a lot of cards that I think are going to see play. This set had the pre-release last Friday, so I think the official release will be in a day or tonight at 12, whatever. But we're going to talk about the mythics of the set and just kind of show you what the strategies are, what I've seen in standard on MTGA, and so kind of help you prepare for the release of this set. You'll notice the showcase at the top here. This is so impending. So these are horrors that they basically have a suspend cost. So they're not creatures until the last counter is removed. So unfortunately, you won't be able to get them cheated out onto the board with a simple play it, counter it, or copy it to make it a creature or anything like that. I was thinking maybe Splash Portal might be one, but I believe that is sorcery speed target creature to blink exile creature and have it come back. But if there's anything that says exile non-land permanent and return it back to the battlefield, then that would help. I'm trying to think. Scroll Shift, I think, also is only creature. So, I mean, if there's a card out there, that would be kind of the way to do that. Or if you can have a way to cheat it from the graveyard to the battlefield, that would be another way. But looking at it overall, we'll start with the first one here. Overlord of the Mistmoors, 7-drop 6/6, impending 4. So you're going to cast it for 4. You could just hard cast it, but they're a bit kind of rough to hard cast. So most people just do the impending. Whenever Overlord of the Mistmoors enters or attacks, create 2/1 white insect creature tokens with flying. So that's cool. Nothing too amazing though with that one. So I'll say that is a B tier. Let's see. There he is. Okay. Next one is a 5-drop 5/3 with impending 3. It's flying whenever Overlord of the Flood Pits enters or attacks. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card. That's pretty solid mechanic, but I don't think anybody's really going to play that. There's a lot of other good stuff out in the sets that are currently in standard, and the speed, I'll say, of the metagame in standard is very quick. So you want a deck that's early to mid game. I don't think you'll see anything late game, which is good because I think everybody's tired of Atraxa. So happy to see that continue on that path. I'll say that's also B tier. Overlord of Balmark, 5-drop 5/5, so it's vanilla there. Whenever Overlord of Balmark enters or attacks, mill 4 cards, then you may return a non-avatar creature you control. Non-avatar card or Planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. So there's some resilience there. Its impending is only 2. So I have seen that, but I beat them before it could even turn into a creature. So, and I don't have a very fast deck. I have an Azurius like mid-game deck for sure, like counter and stall, and just try to keep what I have on the board and win that way. So, this one I'll say is A tier because I think it has potential, but we'll see. I mean, who knows? Maybe next set there'll be more cards that can kind of mess with these. This next one, Overlord of the Boiler Biogles, whatever. 6-drop 5/5, impending 4. When it enters or attacks, deal 4 damage to any target. That probably has a lot more play. Haven't seen anybody use it. I don't think the mono red would, but I mean, 4 for 4, it's more burn. So I'll say that's A tier. And the last one here of the Overlords for the Horrors. This one is a 5-drop 6/5, so a little better than vanilla. Impending 3, or impending 4 for 3. Whenever Overlord of the Huntwoods enters or attacks, create tapped colorless land token named everywhere that is every basic land type. So it's kind of neat. It's just like a Timmy deck creature, big creature, but it does give you some cool land, I guess, a land token. And you can copy tokens. So maybe there's a way to kind of use that ramp to your advantage. I'll still say B tier. You probably use that in a Selesnya deck. There is, what was it? There's an enchantment that's pretty good with copying tokens every time you play a non-land spell. So that could be good. Because then you're just copying your land token over and over and ramping that way while playing other ramp. So it could be good. Alright, next we're talking about this. These are interesting. These are like, it's a room and you can play it locked or unlocked. And if you play it locked for its cheaper cost, then you can unlock it later. And then there is a 5-drop rare card. It's Wooburg, and it says its ability lets you lock or unlock rooms. So I can't remember if playing these that you can just keep locking or unlocking while it's on the board, so you always have something to play. Maybe. They're not something that I've really looked at, but maybe I should look at them a little bit more. I'd have to find that out. First one, it's going to be sideways on us. So first one, whenever one or more non-toy creatures you control attack a player, create a 1/1 white toy artifact creature token. That's for its locked cost for 2 CMC. For 6 CMC, oh, let me scroll down a little bit. There you go. Creatures you control have base power and toughness each equal to the number of creatures you control. So that could be really solid for a token deck. I'm going to say A tier for sure. Now, it could be that when it's locked and unlocked, so after you unlock it, perhaps these are still playable or still effective. Because this says whenever one or more non-toy creatures you control, do this. So I think this is just a triggered ability that's just going to sit there. And if you unlock it, you have both benefits. I think that's probably the way that works. All right. Next one. Mirror Room. This one says, when you unlock this door, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it's a reflection in addition to its other creature types. Once you unlock it, it says, if a triggered ability of a permanent you control triggers an additional time. Pretty common ability of a card. There's plenty of cards that already do that. I don't know if you're going to get a lot of benefit out of that because it is a 7 unlock. So that is going to be C. I don't see anybody playing that. Alright, next one. We've got Funeral Room and Awakening Hall. This one says, whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. When you unlock it, it says, when you unlock this door, return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. That is very good. People will probably use that. There's a lot of removal in the set, so a late game push like that could be helpful again if you survive early game. So I'll say S tier for that one. Oh, and actually here's a little bit more. I didn't quite read that. It says you may cast either half the door unlocks on the battlefield as a sorcery. You may pay the mana cost of any locked door to unlock it. So I suppose that is also only sorcery speed. If you could do that instant speed, that'd be kind of neat. Maybe you get some cool board state effects that way. Alright, the next one. At the beginning, this is Charred Foyer and Warped Space. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. I do like that, but it is for 4, and that's probably not going to see play. Once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a spell you cast from exile. That is useful. Okay, so not that great, and then pretty great for Warped Space there. So I'll move it up to A. I was thinking B, but I'll move it to A. Alright, next. Walk-in Closet and Forgotten Cellar. First one is a 3-drop. It says you may play land cards from your graveyard. Cool, so like a Crucible of Worlds, except not artifact. This one is, I guess, enchantment? Yeah, enchantment. The next one says, when you unlock this door, you may cast spells from your graveyard this turn, and if a card would be put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn, exile it instead. Okay. Pretty basic. Not amazing. I'll say B tier. You may play lands from your graveyard for 3. There are decks that are using that right now. Yeah, I'll keep it B. I'll keep it B. Alright. Moving on. Now we've got some pretty awesome creatures. This one is my favorite, and I am using it in my standard deck, and it has done amazing. This is the Wandering Rescuer for 5. It's a 3/4 flash with Convoke, Double Strike, and other tapped creatures you control have hexproof. What I really like about this is my deck already uses, I was using Lauren's Escape for a while. I've kind of mixed it up since then, but I'm basically going to give my creatures indestructible some way or hexproof, and this is just a great addition to the team that I've already built. So, convoke it real quick. They don't see it coming because you've got like no open mana. I am playing Azurius, so I do kind of counter, and so sometimes I will have open mana, but I try to make it confusing for my opponent, and this helps me do that. So, it's also just amazing. S tier. I'm a little biased, but S tier all day. Okay. Next one, Abhorrent Oculus. Is a 3-drop 5/5. As an additional cost to cast the spell, exile 6 cards from your graveyard. It's a little hard to get out by turn 3, but I'm sure there's a way. It's got flying. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Manifest Dread. So you're going to look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2, and the other into your graveyard. Turn this up for its mana cost at any time. So you could Manifest Dread this out, which would be unique. So as opposed to, I think it was it Khans of Tarkir that started doing Manifest? I think that was the set that did that. I'm not entirely sure, but it's similar to it, but with like a little graveyard aspect. I'm gonna say A tier because I just feel like somebody's gonna do something with this that's crazy. There's a mono blue Mill deck. Mill is back, and I'll talk about that in a second. Actually, while I'm on it, might as well throw it out here. This card down here, I was gonna put it in mention worthy. It's right here. The Mind Skinner, 3-drop for mono blue. It is a 10/1 that cannot be blocked. If a source would deal damage to an opponent, prevent that damage, and each opponent mills that many cards. So great for tabletop commander, just because everybody's going to be milling at the same time. They're equally going to hate you at the same time, so be ready for that. But pretty awesome. 10/1, easy to burn, easy to get rid of, but if you can't, that's a big problem. And with the mill Jace that's been popular, that there's definitely a mill deck in the works that might climb the ladders. We'll see. I don't know. So if you like mill, that's one of the cards for you. All right, bring it back. Next one we got Valgavoth Terror Eater. This is a 9-drop, 9/9 flying lifelink. So definitely think Grizzlebrand when you think this card. Ward sacrifice 3 non-land permanents. If a card you didn't control would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. During your turn, you may play cards exiled with this card. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. So 9/9 lifelink gives you a bunch of life. Then you could pay life to play spells that you exile. I love that. So, and I like the, so it says if a card you didn't control would be put into an opponent's graveyard, so your normal removal spells are now going to feed this, and then you can play those. And it's just very defeating to play somebody who's beating you with your own cards. So, and there's a mono black deck that already does that. I think there's a Rakdos version that does that as well. One of the outlaw decks does utilize, there's a card, Outrageous Robbery, I think, and it just lets you play your opponent's stuff. It's disgusting. So definitely gonna see that. It's such a high CMC. You're probably not gonna hardcast that. Maybe you get a Golgari deck and ramp to this. I don't know, but it's definitely A tier if not S. I'm gonna say A just because it's a 9-drop. So moving on. Roller Crusher Ride. This is X and 3, with one of them being Mountain Delirium. So, if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player while there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, it deals double that damage instead. So, I do like the double damage. It's not that hard to get 4 different card types in your graveyard nowadays. There's plenty of discard a card, draw 2. There's plenty of mill. There's surveil. There's a whole bunch of ways. There's lands that do that too. So that's not tough to do anymore. So that could get some play. And it says when it enters, it deals X damage to each of up to X target creatures. So not quite a fireball. Not quite a board wipe. It's like in between. So I like that. And I'm gonna say people are, because it'll deal double damage, the X doesn't have to be that high. I'm gonna say this is S tier, and I'm not entirely sure if it's gonna hold up to that, but that's gonna be where I place it to start. All right, next Tyvar the Pummeler, 3-drop 3/3, tap another untapped creature you control. It'll get indestructible till end of turn, but you also have to tap this. 5-drop. Pumpable. Creatures you control get +X/+X till end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. That could be really good. This is an elf warrior. There's plenty of elf cards in standard, so I suspect somebody's going to make an elf deck, and that this will be in there. I'm just guessing. But I'll say, given what I see, 3/3 vanilla, plus a indestructible ability here. Big fan of those. I think they do help a lot. I'm going to give him S. There's a lot of resilience there, and then a huge mid to late game push ability with it that's pumpable. That's strong. That's very strong. Alright, we got some more here, starting to go into the rares. Okay, Meathook Massacre. This card is so good, they banned it. And then they brought it back and made it Mythic. I don't think it was Mythic last time. Could be wrong on that, but I know they banned it, and they've brought it back. This card is disgusting. I'll just go ahead and read it for you. When it enters, each player sacrifices... Oh, wait a minute. This is a little bit different. This is Meathook Massacre 2. Hold the phone. So this is for 4 X and X. When Meathook Massacre 2 enters, each player sacrifices X creature. Whenever a creature you control dies, you may pay 3 life. If you do, return that card under your control with a finality counter on it. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, they may pay 3 life. If they don't, return that card under your control with a finality counter on it. Okay, so more war, destroy, sack, and steal your opponent's stuff. Still very good. I suspect it'll live up to the last one. And we'll go ahead and just throw that in S tier, just because I have a feeling. Alright, Screaming Nemesis, 3-drop. 3/3 for haste, so it passes vanilla. It's got a little bit more. Whenever Screaming Nemesis is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any other target, so kind of like a Boros Reckoner. If a player is dealt damage this way, they can't gain life for the rest of the game. Okay, that's just weird, and it's like a weird where you're like, really? I'm gonna say S, because life gain is huge, especially right now in standard. So this should absolutely go in the mono red mouse deck. I know people probably disagree with that, but if you put that in there, it's going to stop a bunch of the strategy to get around that mono red. So that should happen. Huntswood Shrieker. Sorry. 3-drop 3/3. Whenever it attacks, manifest dread. We talked about that already. 2 pumpable, reveal target face down permanent. If it's a creature card, you may turn it face up. So that's a way to get rid of... So if you manifest dread with this out on the battlefield, you could turn up those... what is it? Actually, you know what? If you manifest dread a creature and then you blink it with Splash Portal, wouldn't it come back is its face-up version? I'm just guessing. I'll look that up and see if there's anything I can come up with there. But that would be a way to get around paying those high CMC costs for the the ones at the top here, where we got what? 5, 6, 5, 5, 7. Well, they're not too high CMC, but you know, it's something that you could do. I'm gonna say A tier. All right, moving on to the Planeswalkers. Sorry, Planeswalker. They're still only doing like one a set. Not a fan. Everybody loves Planeswalkers. They help make new decks. Hopefully they turn that around. All right, so we got 4-drop Dimir and 2 other. It is a 4 loyalty Ninjutsu Planeswalker, right? Ninjutsu for 3, 1 and Dimir. During your turn, as long as Kaito has 1 or more loyalty counters on him, he's a 3/4 ninja creature and has hexproof. Okay, so that's nuts. Plus, when you get an emblem with ninjas you control, you get +1/+1, so he makes himself stronger, which is great. There's a lot of blue cards that make creatures unblockable, so you would want to put that on him for sure. 0, Surveil 2, then draw a card for each opponent who has lost life this turn. That works with a lot of the mechanics in the graveyard. That's a huge plus. -2, tap target creature, put 2 stun counters on it. I really like the stun counter mechanics as well. When the last set with the fairies and the adventure and all that was huge with a bunch of stun counters, and I just had a lot of fun with that. So stun counters are awesome. This card is sweet as far as Planeswalkers go. I'm gonna say S tier. A lot of S and A so far with these mythics. Next we've got Nico, Light of Hope, 4-drop Azurius and 2 others. When it enters, create 2 shard tokens. They're enchantments with 2, sack it, scry 1, and then draw a card. So as itself, a shard token seems pretty cool. 2, tap, exile target non-legendary creature you control. Shards then become a copy of that until the beginning of the next end step. Return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So it says the next end step, not your next end step. So there's probably some stuff you can do with this, but it's not. It's just, you could have made it that much better if it was your end step specifically and not just the next end step. But I can understand why. That might be too OP. But I'll say A tier. Now, the next 2 cards are ones that I thought were worth noting. They're cards, one is a reprint. It's Pyroclasm, which is sweet. Definitely A tier, I'll say. Pyroclasm, where you at? 2-drop. There you are. Alright, so Pyroclasm is sweet. It's sorcery speed though, but it's 2-drop, 2 damage to each creature. So that does help early game kind of get rid of those problems from mono red if you can splash red somehow. A lot of people are using red with multicolored decks, so I definitely suspect that will get some play. Definitely an A card. The next one is finally another board wipe. It's if we didn't have enough of them already. There's plenty of destroy all, exile all, and all that stuff. But this one is a 3-drop. Let's see, where are you at? There it is. It's called Split Up. So you can either destroy all tapped creatures or destroy all untapped creatures. Very good. If you can find a way to use this at instant speed, even better. There are cards that allow you to play sorceries at instant speed, so find a way to do that and it gets dramatically better. This is a solid board wipe. It's not entirely board wipe because it's a little specific, but it's right there. So I'm gonna say A tier for sure, and I hope to be playing that soon in my standard deck. But that's gonna do it for this tier list. I do appreciate you joining me as always. Until next time, deckheads, keep it easy.